Hey friends, how you doing? It's me, Christiana Gaudet, your tarot fairy godmother. It's so nice to see you all here. This is going to be a tarot numbers workshop. Over the next hour, we're going to talk about the different ways that number designations are helpful to us as we understand and read tarot. So that's what the class is. If you're watching the replay, thanks so much for being here. Drop a comment. Let us know how you like it. Any questions, whatever. Those of you who are here with us live tonight, thanks so much for being here. Please do feel free to ask questions, interact, all the good stuff. And of course, a special shout out to our members. We really appreciate you. So, one of the comments, hey Gina, nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Glad you're here. One of the comments that I will make about tarot, which is not true, is that, well, every tarot card has a number. And that's not true, is it? Because the Fool is card 0, and we could argue is 0 a number, 0 not a number. But the Court cards also do not have numbers, they have ranks. So what do I do with that? Well, I'll tell you exactly what I do with that. I really do feel like we can look at the ranks in the same way we look at numeric designators. You know, there is a value, there is an order. So I think we can call those things numbers even though they're really ranks. So let me say hi to some people. Miss Alex from New Zealand, thanks for being here. Thanks for your kind words. So nice to see all of you. So Trey, I've studied numerology extensively as well as astrology. It's shocking how well it all correlates, right? Right? But here's the thing. When we talk about numerology, and let me know what you think about this. Like, I have not studied numerology extensively, so I'm looking at you, Trey, at you, Barbie, and thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being members. Anyone else here who has studied numerology, I will definitely want you to ring in. And what I've noticed is when I look at prophetic numeric values 1 through 9 in numerology, I feel like they vary a lot when we look at like Pythagorean or Kabbalistic or whatever and tarot. And it feels like pretty much everyone can agree on numbers 1 through 4. And as soon as we get to 5, it just goes off to the 4 winds, which is kind of a 5 thing in a lot of ways, isn't it? So I'd love to know what you think about like different traditions, especially. Do you see that they start to diverge around number 5, right? So I definitely want to hear from everybody, but especially people who know about numerology. All right, and so nice to see all of you. Choki, glad you were able to make it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Shout out to all the members. William, nice to see you here. Glad you're here. Sally in Connecticut, glad you're here. Ness just came in the room. Glad you're here. Wooju, glad you're here. Trey, Jeannie, Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy, Horse Van Dunn, Peggy, Caroline, Smile Soul 20. So happy to see all of us together and everyone else here too. All right, so here's what I want to say about tarot and numbers. Hey, Anne, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a new member here. We appreciate you. Betty, glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Trey, I follow Pythagorean numerology. I personally have found it to be the most accurate and it makes the most sense to me. Fair. That I totally appreciate that. So there is a tarot deck. Trey, that it's not in print anymore and they're hard to come by. But the Nigel Jackson Tarot, was based on Pythagorean numerology. Very interesting deck. I'll see if I can do a video about it so I can show it to you. Hey, Johnny, nice to see you here. Good Journeys Tarot, Rosemary, so happy to see you. Glad you're here. I have to pool all the ideas into a consensus. I don't like ambiguity, right? Right? So, why are the numbers important? Like, why is it important for us to look at the numbers of tarot as their own thing? I think it's for a lot of reasons. Trey, I think you would love that deck. Yeah. Okay, so why is this important? Number one, the numbers of tarot give tarot its order, and the order of tarot is one of the things that makes tarot uniquely tarot. You know, like that's something we've been talking about for decades now, is like what makes a tarot deck versus an oracle deck, a tarot-inspired oracle deck, whatever. The numbers of tarot is part of what makes tarot its unique thing, right? Now, the numbers of tarot also help us see stories within the deck. And one of the things that's very, very important to me is the idea that, yes, tarot is a tool of divination. Yes, tarot is a tool of magic. Tarot is also a book of spiritual wisdom that tells the story of human existence. And when we study tarot, and when we study tarot in its numeric order, we learn about our own journey through life simply through the study. Just as when you study any sacred text, you learn things that are helpful to you in your journey. The numbers are also important because they help us understand what a card can mean. And the numbers are important because they establish a relationship between cards. Now, this is another thing that I think in some ways is uniquely tarot, is the idea that cards have specific relationships. So if you're doing a spread and you see more than one of the same number, these cards now have a special relationship with each other. Or you see a story. You see a story within the suit that is like a run of numbers. I mean, if you played rummy or any such game when you were a kid, or even now, I still enjoy a hand of rummy once in a while. You know about collecting books and runs, sets and runs. Tarot is sort of similar in that way, right? So it establishes relationships between the cards. Paula Rosenthal, so nice to see you. Glad you're here. Good Journeys Tarot. Tarot mirrors life and vice versa. And just to call your attention, if y'all don't know Rosemary Sunflower, Good Journeys Tarot, that is her channel. Check it out. You'll see that I've been a guest on this channel. Rosemary has designed a tarot deck. She'll be speaking at StarCon 2024 about designing her tarot deck. So we're happy to have her here, and make sure you go to her channel and support her as well. Okay, Trey, I've seen some tarot authors do this, and what do you think about it? When they combine majors together, for example, the devil is the Hierophant and the Magician combined. I'm having a coronary. I'm sorry, as I get older, I shouldn't joke about these things, because one day it could happen, right? I could just be here and your tarot fairy godmother could keel over right after a person said a crazy... Sorry. I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy. But maybe I'm missing something. Like, is there a numerological thing? Like the devil is the Hierophant and the Magician combined. Are you throwing that out just as this and this and this is this? Or Have you really heard like those cards really are those cards? The Devil is the Hierophant and the Magician combined. Tell me more before your tarot fairy godmother, the one. Oh God. There are no tarot police. Far be it from me to say that someone else's cockamamie ideas, no, seriously. If it works, it works. But to me, that's a confusing amount of drivel that makes no sense. And how is that going to help you in a reading? And that's not even numerology. That's not even how we do numerology. She's going to snap. One of these days I might. What would that even look like? So yeah, please share with me ideas that you've heard about numerology. And again, I mean, there are no tarot police. I can't even wrap my brain around how that makes any sense or how that would be helpful to anyone at any time, ever, anywhere on the planet. But, I remain open-minded and unconvinced. Please share any other ideas you have. All right, so to get it out of the way, let's start by talking about the cards that don't have numbers, all right? And we're going to start with the Fool. So some people will place the Fool at the very beginning of the major arcana in front of the Magician. Some people call the Fool card 22, assigning the number 22 to the Fool and placing the Fool at the end after the World. These are legitimate traditions. I like the Fool as card 0 because here's how I see it. I believe the Fool travels through the deck. The Fool is card 0 because the Fool belongs everywhere. The Fool represents each one of us on our journey through life. The other 77 cards represent the people we will meet, the things we will do, the things we will learn, the places we will go. We are all the Fool. And that's what the 0 means to me. Obviously, that's one take. It's not the only take, but that's my take. Let me know. What do you think of my take of the Fool as card 0? All right. Let me just see some comments. Trey, I was thinking of how perhaps that's something that could be drawn from that correlation. Sure. Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy, yes, I've seen that too. Especially with life path numbers breaking it down to single digits. Sure, but that's not the same as saying that card 1 and card 5 will somehow be connected to card 15 because card 15 is already connected to card 6 because that's how numerology works. I think. Gina, this is why I love you and suggest people follow you. Tell it, Christiana. Well, thank you. Barbie, I believe the Fool is at the start of the journey. Good. And Good Journeys Tarot, some keep it as an unnumbered card standing outside the rest. Yeah, and even almost see it as like its own suit. The Fool is its own suit. And that's, very legitimate, for sure. Trey, I do think that some tarot authors overcomplicate things. And I understand, as a tarot author, I understand the temptation to just say, oh, here's a good idea, let me write about this, without ever really trying it out in the field and seeing if it has any efficacy at all. Hey, Susanna, nice to see you. Betty, bugs me with 8 and 11 mixed, right. Well, and that's legitimate. I mean, that is a legitimate tradition either way. And, I'm very weight-based, so I like 8 as strength and 11 as justice. So a lot of people on this channel like it that way, too. But the other way is legit. It really is. Susanna, some position the Fool between 20 and 21. So I've never heard that. That's interesting. So Judgment, Fool, World. That's really interesting. And Sheena, to me, the Fool is often everywhere and nowhere exactly, which is why 0 is so good. Choki, Sheila Height's book depicts the Fool as you are describing in a really beautiful and profound way. I love the connection of the Fool to all cards and relationships in the book. Yeah, thank you for that. And that goes to my point that Numbers can denote relationship, and in this case, if you look at it that way, the Fool then has a relationship with every single card, which I love. Okay, now let's look at, the ranks of the courts as numbers, because there is a progression. Numbers indicate a progression, and there is a progression. And please understand that I am a real fan, when we study these things in order, of studying them progressing up and also down. So we can see these cards, these ranks, as stages of human development, right? Where here we have youth, and then we have young adult, and here we have sort of parenthood and older. But we also, when we look at numbers in tarot and numbers in numerology, what do? We have keywords, right? We have keywords that we ascribe to each number, or in this case, each rank, so that we have a handle on what's it mean. The whole point is that when we talk about numerology and when we talk about tarot numbers, we recognize that there is a qualitative value to a number, as well as a quantitative value. And what I'm saying is that the ranks of the courts also have qualitative and quantitative. Now, of course, if you're going backward, we can describe the king and queen as mother and father God, and knight and page as we their human children, and the tens as the situation into which we're born, right? So let's talk about keywords. What are keywords for the rank of page? Perhaps messenger, communication, student, scholar, study, learning, and technology, and youth, right? Makes sense. What about keywords for knights? And if you have some to add, just make sure you tag it what it is. And before we talk about the knights, let me see what we see here. Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy, I like 0 for the Fool, for the unlimited potential and the idea of the Fool's journey. I love that. Ness, I think the order of the cards, are in, but I don't think of doing anything with the numbers unless I have multiples of 3 same numbers. And I'm going to argue that even if you have just 2 of the same number, you got to do something with it. I really believe it. William Herrera, I can see why the 811, but you're a Thoth deck user. It makes more sense in that case, in its brand of magic. Yeah, absolutely. Totally legit. Either way. And yeah, I am admittedly and unabashedly more of a weight reader. And I'm not anti-Crowley in any way. Just, it's just where I'm at in my journey. What can I tell you? Claire C., nice to see you. Thanks for being a member. Night Quest, keyword quest. I love that. Quest, travel, also youth, pursuit, certainly journey, right? All right. Queens. Queens, certainly there's that yin energy there. Tortoiseshell Moon, Knight, Messenger. Interesting. Now, see, I would see the pages much more as messengers than knights. That's so interesting. Do you not see the pages as messengers? That's interesting to me. Not right or wrong. Just curious. Ness, that was the typo. Okay, good. Because, yeah, 2 is important, too. But also look for the runs of numbers, because that's good, too. Why isn't the Fool infinity? Well, that's an interesting question. Oh, William, dynamic for the Knight. I love that. That's so good. Oh, Claire, Queen, manifester. Oh, I love that. Nurturance, feminine, manifesting. Some writers do see knights as messengers from Good Journeys Tarot. Man, I have missed that entirely. And it makes sense because let me deliver a message. Let me get on my horse and go take it. It makes sense. Trey, so to me, the knights are more action and movement oriented than a messenger. So interesting. So interesting. Okay, so what about kings? Certainly there's a yang or a masculine energy there. There's a leadership energy. There's an energy of establishment and dominion there. What else do you see there? And so clearly, like, we don't all have to agree. Like, we have to agree that they mean something and that we have keywords. We don't all have to agree on what the keywords are. One of the most comforting things I've ever heard was from Wald Amberstone of the Tarot School and Reader Studio. We trust the universe to bring the right querent with the right question to the right reader with the right cards at the right time. So whatever keywords you got for whatever deck of cards you got, that's all in divine order. And I just love that. So let's see. Going backwards, Barbie Bird, King, Authority, Leader. Claire, King, CEO. I love that. Barbie, Knights or Travel, Going Places. William, love the RWS myself, but learning the Tabula Mundi deck is beautiful. Oh, nice, nice, nice. Nice. Okay, William, Queen, reflective, nurturing, perfect. Ness, I think of the Knights as action too, but there's the idea that pages are too young to deliver messages, that the Knights can deliver more important news. And, you know, I mean, I can see it. I can absolutely see it. It makes sense to me. Unlike the idea that the magician and the Hierophant equal the devil. That one made no sense to me. This one, I can wrap my brain around very nicely. And now I'll probably see it that way too. Barbie Bird, I look at pages like kids who are trying to tell you a story but can barely spit it out. The Knights have learned to communicate. Rosemary, perhaps pages deliver messages closer to home while the Knights travel with them. Very good, very good. Trey, Kings, authoritative, accomplished. I associate kings with air, so there's a mental element to them. To stay a king, one must be strategic and intelligent, constantly trying to stay one step ahead. Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy, I've always seen Knights as a messenger for the image you mentioned of jumping on the steed to bring news. Yeah, I can totally see it. It makes perfect sense now that you say it. I love it. All right, so now let's talk about the actual numbered cards, which are the rest of the deck. Okay, William, King, order, stability, power. Choki, King, symbolize power for me, dynamic and magnetizing energy in a more linear way. All right, let's talk first about the major arcana. So one of the ways I really like to play with the numbered major arcana is by breaking it into these three groups of 7. So we've got Magician through Chariot, Strength through Temperance, and Devil through World. And different scholars, different writers will ascribe different stories to this, but I think we all agree that through this we see a story of human development, and we see each group of 7 or each septenary as having a distinct theme. For me, this first group of 7, these are the basic things you have to learn and do to live on the planet. You go to school, you learn, you have parents, you become parents, you fall in love, you figure out what you believe in, you develop some authority, and then you can have a car. Oh, seriously, and then you can have, you know, what that level of mastery. The second group I see as mastery on the emotional level. That each of these cards is sort of a lesson in how not to be crazy, right? So when we talk about these stories of human development and stories of the human experience. And the idea that we can look at these cards in order and learn something from them. This group of cards has taught me a lot of lessons, right? You want to know, like, my spiritual lessons from this group of cards? Strength, don't be a bitch. The Hermit. You have to allow yourself time alone to figure things out. Wheel of Fortune, ups and downs in life, man, all the time. There they are, and there's not much you can do about it. Justice, you cannot expect to be treated fairly, but you must try to treat others fairly. The Hanged One, for me, this is the serenity prayer. To accept the things I cannot change, to change the courage to change things I can, the wisdom to know the difference. Accepting all the things, and finally, the power, the creativity, the patience, the wisdom to be able to blend together the things that we need to make the best we can in life. And so that's like a moving meditation for me right there. Trey, I remember you talking about having that dream of strength reversed. Yes, right after I had been a total bitch to someone. Yes. Oh, Trey, the kings are fixed signs, so stubborn energy as well. That's good. Tortoiseshell Moon, yeah, the whole devil, magician, Hierophant thing doesn't make sense to me. But I've seen the 15 broken down to 6, yes. And there are similarities with the Lovers and the Devil. Barbie, my life is definitely in that second group. Yeah, mine is consistently in that second group. I think, there it is, right? There it is. All right. And then finally, and there's a lot to be learned from this little story here. The final story is the journey to spiritual enlightenment. And there is no spiritual enlightenment until we do the work, the real work, the shadow work, the looking at yourself work, the walking away from bullshit work, all the things. And then we got to do this. We got to let go of all the other things, because there is no enlightenment without these experiences. Then we have healing, satisfaction, fulfillment. Then we have the ability to figure out what is really true and what is not. Then we are able to truly shine. Then we are able to put closure to the past and open up to something new in this space of completion, where we are at once made whole but also born into the new day. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Betty Tarot is something I keep falling in love with more every day. Trey, do you view the kings as being stubborn? Depending on the moment. Like, as much as I am very careful about misogyny in tarot, because it's inherently there, I'm also careful about misandry in tarot. And I think since the kings are typically male and male leaders, calling them stubborn, on one hand, does speak to a lot of people's experience of the patriarchy, but on the other hand, I'm not sure how fair it is. I don't know. Ness, I don't see kings as stubborn for the sake of stubborn, but more like they're not going to be pushed around or easy to change their minds. Kathy, that's the hardest stage for sure. It's not tangible. Sure, absolutely. So then, the numbers give us these stories. So if you're doing a spread and you see multiple cards from any of these groups, that story is important. That story is part of what's going on here. Now, what about the numbered groups? Numbered pairs, birth pairs, groups of 2 and 3 by number. The one that has been brought up here is Lover's Devil. Okay, so this is a numbered pair. The Devil is card 15. 1 plus 5 is 6. So in numerology, they are the same number, the Lovers and the Devil. So if your birth number is a 6, these are your birth cards. And you can see there's a similarity in the image. We have the Adam and Eve character in both, and we have this spiritual being kind of controlling the situation in both. So that's the other thing you're going to look for with major arcana in readings, is you're going to look for cards that break down to the same number. Right, Betty, why are kings the authority? Women have authority also. Exactly. Tortoiseshell moon, kings are kind of immovable, or can be. Trey Cameron, and there's Lucifer on the tree. There you go. So the tarot numbers of the major arcana connect major arcana cards together in their order, right? So if these two cards came up in a spread, no matter like whether they were next to each other or not, doesn't matter. If you see these two cards anywhere in a spread, that's extra important because we see that story there. And you're going to want to look at that story both ways. And the way I do this is I will use this to add information to the reading. So I will interpret the cards in their positions, but then I'm also going to look at their relationships and use that to give additional information. William, perhaps someone was confusing magician and devil since they fall in line as the first of the septenary, and the Hierophant because of the visual cues, but not numerological, possibly. So and then the other thing to think about is these birth pairs. And I recognize birth pairs are either pairs or triplets. Some of us have pairs, some of us have triplets, right? Depending on your birth number. But that's another way that tarot numerology is important. Now, the next thing then is how major arcana connects to minor arcana with numbers. So for instance, we've got the Lovers and the Devil as cards 6s. And then we also have, let's just pull out 6, 6, 6, and 6. Now, please, I'm going to ask for some answers. William, they mirror the Trinity, the Lover's Devil and the Hierophant. Yeah, absolutely. Visually, absolutely yes. All right. I have a series of questions for you, and please try to tag them so I'll know which questions you're answering. So the first is, in any field of numerology, I don't care what tradition, what keywords do you have for the number 6? So tag that 6 and let me know. William, do the pairs power each other or add energy? Yeah, I think that they make each other stronger. They add energy to the reading. And then you want to interpret them yes, they make each other stronger, and whatever story is going on between them, that's going to be important in the reading. So for example, if the pair in the reading were the Lovers, the Devil, you know for a fact that in that reading, we are seriously going to be talking about some kind of relationship drama going on there. You know it. Right? Okay, so key words for the number 6. Tag it number 6. Claire says connection. You didn't tag it, but it was the first question, so I bet. So you see connection. I tend to see power, glory, service, glory and service in a lot of ways. Those are those are important. So Betty sees relationships with others, Barbie, 6, warm, healing, nurturing, compassionate, romantic, idealistic. Trey, 6, the planet Venus, beauty, love, codependency, family, balance and peace, luxury, money, good-looking people. Claire, connections. Miss Alex, harmony. Barbie, joining forces, all good stuff, all good stuff. Now, look at just the major arcana 6s. Just the major arcana 6s. And let's look and see how those things show up here. Let's see, Jenny, I feel like I haven't seen you in so long. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Jenny sees release after a time of trial. Barbie sees full of beauty, could be attachments, joining forces, as perfection. So the question is, if you saw 2, 3, or 4, well, let's see, if you saw 2 6s, what sort, like where do those keywords show up here, and how do they show up in a group of 6s in a reading for you? I would like success is really a keyword for me. So if I see two 6s, I'm going to lean into the concept of success. Where are you on your journey to success? That kind of thing. Now, if I see 3, I'm going to wonder why the 4th one isn't there. And that is so important. If you see 3 of the same number or rank, think about the one that isn't there and think about why that's missing. That is super important. Service, lots of thought, comfortability. So then, does your understanding of 6 change when you think about adding these cards in? And what do you do with that? So the thing about the swords, William, here, the 6 of Swords, what we see here is a sailing towards smoother waters, right? We see this idea of, and remembering that Crowley calls this the card of science, right? So, this card can literally talk about a career in science or the study of science, interestingly. And it is interesting that all of these cards can speak to career. So when we think about success, like this is just, like whatever, whether it's an athletic career or a corporate career, you're climbing to the top. Here we have science. Here we have social services, banking, helping others. And here we have either healing from childhood or dealing with children, home, families. So there's careers there, right? So how is that? That's interesting, right? I like the idea of choices. I do see choices in all of this, but I mean, in a way, every card offers a choice. There is that. Susanna choosing generosity here, choosing a new path here. So Betty, how would 6 Swords be relationship with others? The whole key is, what relationship should you be walking away from? And who are the people who are going to help you do that? And again, there is this whole thing about making decisions with the head, not the heart. And who are the people who are going to help you do that? As you can see, there's like this wide array of thoughts about the number 6, which is one of the reasons I chose that number to talk about, just so you could really see how we differ here. And it doesn't matter that we differ. It matters that we know how we think about the numbers in the cards. Okay, so we know then ways that numbers connect majors to minors, right? Now, let's talk about the stories that we see in a run of cards. So let's play with the suit of cups. And let's just look at the pictures and tell a story. And let's actually go backwards. So let's start with, in the beginning, a young person was born into a very happy family. And they were happy and satisfied with their lives, but as they grew, they knew they had to go out on their own. And there they were confronted with many things they hadn't seen before. But they remembered the teachings of their childhood. That was not enough to save them from some heartache, but it was enough to teach them what they should say yes to and what they should say no to. Finally, they meet people that they really enjoy. They form partnerships and find love and happiness. There's a story, right? You can tell this kind of story with each suit, going from ace to 10 or 10 to ace. And this is a really fun exercise. It's a great journaling exercise because it just gets you in the flow of telling a story with the cards, no matter how silly. And you're going to look at the pictures, so different deck, you're going to tell different stories. But this is a way that numbers help us in tarot because they give us this natural story. So that being said, imagine, if you will, that you're doing a spread for someone, and within that spread are these three cards in different positions, not in any particular order. 6, 7, 8 of cups. You're going to see a story there, and depending on the questions, depending on the other cards, you may see the story going in one direction or the other. And it may be a story of, in order to figure out what to choose, you're going to have to remember who you are. It may be a story of getting your head out of your ass. I mean, actually, either way you look at it, it's kind of a story of getting your head out of your ass. Can you see that? I see that. So let me read some comments. Thank you, everyone, for commenting on the number 6. So much good stuff there. I want everyone to make sure you read it. In the interest of time, I'm not reading it all aloud, but it's good stuff. I love this. William, adding the devil to the 6 of wands seems to be a warning of hubris. I love that. That's so good. Serena, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy, about the 6s, it's really wide-ranging. It's stretching my mind. For the 6s, I got a sense of checks and balances. It's the balance, right? Especially with the devils and the lovers brought in. That's beautiful. Thank you. Then, regarding the cups, Kathy, I love that. Barbie, that was the best and most concise explanation of cups ever. Serena, it's fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. William, love that story. Betty, can you do the pentacles? Let's say someone opening a metaphysical shop. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds like fun. Okay. So here I am. I've decided I'm going to open a shop, and I have the means to do it. I have the resources to do it. And I work really hard, and I stretch to make it happen. But I have some skills and some community, and I bring them in, but it's still really, really tight. And the community does not necessarily understand that, and it's kind of scary. It's looking kind of scary. I I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. But oh, look, how to bring in more community. That's what we need. We need more people, more resources coming in. And it's still a lot of hard work, but look, now I have other people who are working with me and learning and growing, and I feel much more secure and feel that I have built something that really is a legacy in our community. How about that? What do you think? So, again, play with this. This is just the storytelling tool will help you in so many ways. And the more imaginative and the crazier you can be, the better. The better. So, here's an exercise for you. Target exercise. Imagine, if you will, that you're doing a reading and these 3 cards show up in no particular order. What additional message would you give it? No right or wrong answers here. No right or wrong answers. Oh, I'll do swords in a minute, but play with me first. Do this exercise with me. Do this exercise with me. Tag it exercise. What additional story or piece of advice might you give a client or give to yourself if these 3 cards appeared somewhere in your spread? What story or piece of advice would you come up with for your client? What would you want them to know or consider? Let me know. I'm intentionally not saying anything because I want to hear all the ideas. What would you say? And again, I think one of the really important things that comes out of a session like this where we gather together and share ideas in the way we see it, we recognize no one's wrong. No one's wrong, no one's right. It's all in how effective it is. So in a way, we're all right, as long as it works for you, right? Okay, so here from Trey is advice. It's hard, but you need to keep working or consider a different way of doing something. Okay, I love that. Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy, don't try to cope with it all on your own. This is all very good. Very good. Let's see if we can get a couple of others in here. What else you got? Okay, I'll share one. Any career decision you make will give you opportunity for growth, but in any case, you will need to be very careful to cover your butt. Okay, Claire C. Weigh your choices and hire the best designers for success. Spend your money wisely. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Sally, work hard and enjoy the craft, but keep in mind that a proper balance is necessary. Beautiful. Barbie, I would say not to be discouraged with the situation and look for help from others. Great. Ness, keep on juggling and hustling, then make sure no one takes it from you. Serena, are they free to move or are they stunted, haunted, stifled, or fearful? Jenny, it's finally a choice to weigh on what you want and advice from others to create stability. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So these are added gems that you can add to your reading, right? Now, the Story of Swords has been requested, and I say we do this one from both directions. And again, no right or wrong way to do this. I hope you do it as a journaling exercise. The exercise. There's a couple more from the exercise. William, you're juggling a lot, and need help, but don't delegate. Don't delegate the duties. Susanna, stay flexible, invest in a plan with others, connect to your resources, go slowly. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Okay, once upon a time there was a smart person with a good idea, but they weren't really sure what to do with the idea, and they sat on it and sat on it and sat on it, and finally someone else did something with it. And so this person was really upset because there it is. So now this person doesn't know what to do and is just really, really, really sad. But then decides that life is worth fighting for and decides to go someplace new and start again. But they fall for a scam artist. This is now the second time that they have just not been able to be successful. And now they feel they will never, ever be successful. And they fall into a deep depression and come to a terrible end. Or a person is born into a very, very difficult situation, a very difficult household. And they grow up in despair and poverty. They feel trapped, but eventually they realize if you're careful, if you're clever, if you're crafty, there is a way out. And they did find that way out. And then they were able to move forward into a whole different life. They were able to fight for what they wanted and could rest easy. Yet they knew that people around them still suffered. They tried to make a decision and finally came up with an idea to help others who are suffering the way they had suffered. So, those are fun stories too. All right, so what are the things that we take away here? Oh, cash and financial duties, William. Got it. Sorry, I didn't put it together. Sometimes I'm really good at that, and sometimes I'm a little thick. Okay, so what do we learn? We learn that numbers connect the cards one to another. Numbers can show a progression and therefore a story. Numbers connect the cards to ourselves. Okay, Kathy, if you see a number progression in a reading, like getting 4, 5, 6 or whatever, would you read that as a progression for the person if it is within suit? If it is within suit. If it is not within suit, I probably wouldn't pay attention to it. But if it's within the same suit, I would definitely read it in some way. I might read it as a progression or a regression, right? Because it could go in either direction. But I would definitely find the story there, yes. But if it's like a run of numbers but not within suit, so if it's like the 2 of Swords, the 3 of Cups, and the 4 of Pentacles, no, I would not pay attention to that. It's got to be, for me, it's got to be within suit. So, we've talked about how numbers help us with tarot study. We've talked about how numbers help us with interpretation. We've talked about how numbers connect the cards to each other and offer extra meanings. Do the numbers also help us understand the card themselves? Yes, they do. You know, the numbers are sort of part of the keyword of how we understand the card. What else do numbers do in a reading? Sometimes the numbers come up to just mean the number. For example, I was doing a reading the other day, And I had my regular Celtic cross, and it was the 7 of Cups that was the crossing card. And it made sense, okay, crossing card I interpret as what is the person's biggest challenge? And, they were confused about their lives. They didn't know what to trust. They didn't know what to choose. It made sense. In that context, it made sense. Okay, great. Just a little ways into the reading, the person that I was reading for said they got divorced 7 years ago. 7. Suddenly, this card took on greater meaning and became the confusion and the upset and the choices post-divorce. And I was able to look at all the other cards from this perspective of life after divorce and what does that look like because of this number 7. So listen for the numbers in the stories and see how that's reflected in the cards. Now, sometimes you'll get a psychic hit, and especially like for me, if it's a foundational card or a past card, and, say it's an 8 there, and I just get the feeling of like, well, what happened when you were 8 years old? Let's talk about that year or thereabouts. So the numbers can talk about increments of time or an age. And sometimes that'll be just a psychic hit and you'll want to ask about it. Sometimes it will be, if you're reading for yourself, what you know about your own life or what you know about the person you're reading for because of what they say. So look for the numbers. Serena, do I consider myself to be a psychic reader? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. William, what's your take on life path numbers and the majors? I like to play with that. I like to play with the birth pairs. Absolutely, yes. That's a way that the tarot numbers connect the cards to us. Absolutely. Serena, for me, there's no difference. It all works together. It all works together. Betty, numbers are often sometimes the person's age or the number of people. Sure. 3 of Cups. You have 3 kids. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And numbers can also be, when we talk about timing, numbers can also be like, it'll happen in August because there's a lot of 8s there, and August is the 8th month. It can be like that too. So look at how numbers speak as the numbers themselves. Trey, your name number is important as well and correlates to tarot. Serena, I get that. Of course you get that because you're the same. I think you're pretty similar. All right. So we are in our final 2 minutes. So it's time for me to say thank you to all of you for being here and coming to play. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you feel like you learned something. Trey, sorry for making your brain melt. Oh, I love it. I love it when you make my brain melt. And you know what I love is I love that I've been doing this long enough that I can have an opinion, and, what's that worth? I don't know. Not even a cup of coffee, probably, but, it's something. Serena, it would be cool to do a YouTube live on psychic reading versus straight up reading. Interesting. Well, thank you. Let's talk about that. Send me an email. Let's talk about that. Thank you, everyone, so much. Really appreciate you all. Thank you. I'll be back Thursday, probably at noon, with the newsletter recap. Peggy Lou, numbers are the language of the universe. That's fabulous. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. I do love this Wiser deck. Yes, I do. And for those of you watching the replay, thank you. Leave a comment. Please make sure you like this video. I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you. Take really good care.